So, hello everyone. This is Mr. Mas Nakano, excuse me, and Mr. Mas Nakano is going to be spending time, like we talked about in class, the last couple days or weeks we've been talking, and he's going to share with us a little bit of his oral history and some of his experiences today. He's really funny, he's really awesome. And so please, everyone, feel free to ask questions as we're talking through. If you have any questions you might want to ask, just ask them. You can also, I'll hand out some note cards, and if you want a question but you don't want to say it out loud, you want me to just ask him for you, and you can write it on here, and then I'll collect them like a few minutes before, like 10, 15 minutes before the end of class, and then everyone, you can read through them and talk through them. That's okay. All right, so here's some note cards. Okay, I'll let it keep going. I'll let it keep going. Are you ready?
No?
Okay, we'll give up one more time. I think we're all here. We're just missing one student, so.
There we go.
No? Well, she was looking for somebody old to come and talk to you. And I have to admit, I'm not really old. And, but she's also looking for some good-looking guy, so here I am. You got any questions about old age? I'll be there in a few years, so I've been thinking about it. And just thinking, in only 66 years, you're going to be there too. So you're where I am right now. You know, good looking but old. So, so let's see it. What am I supposed to say?
Okay, so would you like to introduce yourself? I introduced you as Mr. Nakano. Where were you? Can you give us?
Oh, I'm a native of Oakland. I was born in Oakland, or actually in a hospital in Alameda, but raised in Oakland near where the Oakland Coliseum sits now. And it's interesting that the BART station there has a parking lot, and I went in there once and saw bamboo sticking up through the asphalt. I thought that's where a house used to be. But anyway, that's where I was born and raised, and with interruptions during World War II, but we were living there, and we came back from the internment camps and lived there until I was a teenager, and in fact until I went to college. So you know, that area I know well has changed quite a bit. Used to be sort of a working class. I guess there were a lot of Silvas lived there, but now it's really it's part of the black ghetto that's it's taken over most of Oakland. So. Anyway, my roots are in Oakland, but I don't go back there very much nowadays. And went to grammar school in Oakland up to the like it was the sixth grade, the middle of the sixth grade, when World War II started. You know, and the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and that was a day that changed my life forever. I guess I'm still not getting over that. But we had sort of a bad time in school, and then the government was laying out decrees on where Japanese could live in the Bay Area. And our family, uncles, aunts, and cousins and stuff all banded together, and we lived for a while in our house in East Oakland because that was outside the restricted area. And but eventually we had to move, and so we moved in a caravan and moved like sort of the Grapes of Wrath style, in a bunch of cars, and moved up to Walnut Creek, where one of the uncles there had found a place for us to stay. It was actually an abandoned schoolhouse there in Walnut Creek, and we all moved in there for till about from December, for about January to about April, March of 1942. And there, the men went to the asparagus fields. The asparagus were harvesting then, and they picked asparagus. The women and some of us kids went to the packing house to pack the asparagus in those bundles that you see in the grocery store, is what they did. So that was our living there while we lived there, and so I went to the 6th grade here in Walnut Grove. It was actually a segregated school. The first time I'd ever been to a segregated school. All of the Asian kids were in one school, which is mainly Filipino, Chinese, and Japanese. None of them got along together very well, but they're all in the same school. And we did most of the 6th grade there, but then we got shipped to relocation centers. And for us, it was going first to Turlock for a while, and at the Turlock racetrack. And we lived there for about a month. It was actually the horse stalls that we lived in. So. But there, again, we got a train again down to Arizona, where to a place called the Gila River Relocation Center. It was on an Indian reservation south of Phoenix, between Phoenix and Tucson. And we ended up there. Now we got everybody. So, where was it? Oh, yeah, I was in Arizona, and we're good. Okay. Lost my track again. Oh, Arizona, yeah. We spent the rest of the war there, and the things I really remember about that camp was that one, Arizona, is that I was in the line at the chow line cafeteria during lunchtime, because we had to go from the school back to our own cafeteria for lunch. And Eleanor Roosevelt, who you know as Eleanor Roosevelt, she grew up, and she was taking a tour of the camps, and she stopped at our line and waiting for the cafeteria, waiting in the cafeteria. She came up to me and said, "Hello, little boy, how are you?" And I went to my little oh shucks mode. I couldn't say anything, but that I think is the most famous person I ever met. At the age of 10, I think maybe still 10 that year, and she was sort of the, wrote some bad papers about how life was in the camps and how badly we were being treated, but nothing ever came of that. And but as the years went on, the camp became more or less normal in the sense that it created a high school and it built high schools. So where at first the high school had nothing, it had gymnasiums, and it even had teams that competed against high school teams from neighboring cities. Like I remember, can't remember any of the towns around there, but I think they're all within the city limits. I said Phoenix right now, but in those days we played all kinds of sports except football, and my class had mostly retired teachers. Some were really well-meaning, but Jesus, they really put you to sleep. So, excuse me. And in fact, they weren't very good teachers, but they were there because the state of Arizona decreed that every kid has to go to school, and so it was from that standpoint, it's sort of a normal lifestyle. And they had the place had it was a camouflage shop and had farms, but had a very big farm. And if you worked, you made $16 a month, and that was enough to buy you all kinds of toothbrushes and things. You bought all your clothes from the Sears Roebuck catalog, and this, the Sears catalog had good, better, and best in their catalog. So when you see somebody on the street, you knew he was dressed in better or best. That was to me, it was a no-no. But anyway, that's how we lived there, and my two oldest brothers were drafted out of there and went to Italy with the army. They both lived through that, but that was a big event in our camp, since the army put out a questionnaire asking all the people there whether they were loyal to the United States and or loyal to the Emperor of Japan, or would they object to having their sons serve in the military. And I guess the big questions were yes, yes, and no, no. And of course, my father was a yes, no. Yes, he was a loyal American, but he didn't want his kids to serve in the army. Anyway, that survey didn't do him any good. The sons went to the service, and that was a big event in the camp. And what else?